Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Mike Green. I'm one of the owners of 1A Auto. I want to help you save time and money repairing and maintaining your vehicle. I'm going to use my 20+ years experience restoring and repairing cars and trucks like this to show you the correct way to install parts from 1AAuto.com. The right parts installed correctly. That's going to save you time and money. Thank you and enjoy the video.
In this video, I'm going to inspect and then show you how to replace the front rotors and pads on this 99 Subaru Legacy, same as any 96 to 99. Turns out that this vehicle, the brakes are actually in fine shape, so I just remove them and put them back on to show you the process. Obviously, I only do one side. Whenever you do brakes, replace them, you always replace them in pairs. Tools you'll need for the job are jack and jack stands, 14, 17, and 19 millimeter sockets with a ratchet and an extension. You'll need a breaker bar or a piece of pipe to use with your ratchet because some of the bolts or a couple of bolts can be a little difficult, and as well as you'll need a wire brush and a large C-clamp. Okay, start by removing one of the front tires. I'm using impact tools. If you have just regular hand tools, you're going to want to loosen the lug nuts with the wheel on the ground, then jack up and secure the vehicle, take the lug nuts the rest of the way off, and remove the tire. Either grab the rotor and turn it, or turn your steering wheel.
Okay, so with our wheel off, we can inspect the brakes. One thing you want to look at is the condition of the rotors, and what you do is take your back of your fingernail, just kind of run it on the surface. You'll feel small grooves, but you want to watch out for any deep gouges or anything. And then you can also kind of check the back side as well. It feels very good on this car. Inside here you can see, let me spin this a little bit. So there's the rotor. Just to the left of where it's spinning, that's the inner pad. So you can see there's quite a bit of life left on that. And then the outer pad you can see right here, and there's good life left on that. So the brakes on this vehicle are in good shape. The only exception would be is if when you drove it they vibrated or pulsated, then you might want to do some work, replace the rotors, or maybe even just replace the whole rotors and pads. But these are working fine. I'm just going to do an inspection, and I'll show you how to take them apart and put them back together. The next step you're going to want to do is to remove the caliper, and you do that by removing a bolt here and a bolt here. These bolts are 14 millimeters. They should come apart relatively easily.
And fast forward here as I remove those two bolts.
Okay, once you remove those bolts, and there's little boots here that you'll see. You might want to slide those in some, and then you should just be able to pull your caliper right off. And we can put that up here for right now. Okay, so here's your pads. They just are in little retainers, so they'll just slide right out. Okay, and the inner one will slide out too as well. Okay, now this bracket here is your caliper bracket, and you'll need to remove that if you want to replace your rotor. Before we do that, just one thing to check: these slides here, they will pull out. Let's see if you can pull the, okay, they'll pull out just like that. You want to make sure that they're nice and free, and if they're not, take them out, wire brush them, put some grease back on them, and replace them. Mine are working fine. I'm just going to push it back in. Another thing, many pads come with new retainers here. Use the new ones. If the pads you buy don't have new retainers, you can pull these out. Again, use a wire brush, clean them up. To remove these caliper brackets so we can get the rotor off, there's two 17mm bolts, one there and one here. Okay, before I do those bolts, just in looking at this I can see some pretty good corrosion here. I'm just going to put a little bit of penetrating oil on it. Just help me out a little bit. Okay, these bolts I use an extension because there's a kind of the strut gets in the way a little bit. Make sure I've got the socket on there well. I use a piece of pipe. This gives me some extra leverage.
Okay, and I'll fast forward as I remove both those 17mm bolts. If you have a breaker bar, that's great. That's the right tool, but if you have a ratchet or a smaller ratchet, just use a piece of pipe like that. Gives you the extra leverage. And these bolts sometimes can be a little bit of a challenge to get out. Okay, once those bolts are out, you can take that bracket off. And then work the rotor off.
Obviously reinstallation. Put your rotor back on. Okay. You want to put your caliper between the rotor and the steering knuckle, and then the bolt through. Just kind of move it around a little bit until the bolt starts in. And the lower one, same thing. Mine still requires a little bit of convincing to get through there.
Okay, we'll just fast forward. I'm just using my ratchet and socket to preliminarily tighten those bolts. Next step is I'll use a torque wrench.
Okay, now you want to torque these to 85 foot-pounds. Okay, as your brakes wear, the pistons in your caliper, they come out, and that's how they adjust. So before you put your new pads in, you'll need to push your caliper pistons back in. So what you do is take your old pad, okay, put it right in, and then take a nice big C-clamp. Okay. Put it here. That off.
Okay, I didn't do a very good job talking while I was doing that, but you use that C-clamp and the pad, and you tighten the C-clamp and force the pistons back into the caliper.
Okay, now to put the pads back in, this is your inner pad. It has a wear tab. You want to have that at the bottom. Okay, so put the pad back in down there, and back on there. Same thing for the outer pad. And you can see I cleaned out these slides. So put that down there. And sometimes you kind of have to take your pad, slide it in. Okay. Make sure it's all in place correctly. Okay. Put our caliper down on. Start one bolt in. The other bolt in. Okay, torque these at 20 foot-pounds.
Okay, pick up the pace here, straighten out the steering knuckle, and put the tire on. Thread the lug nuts on by hand first. Okay, here I'm just preliminarily tightening the lug nuts with my impact wrench. Now with the car on the ground, I'll torque the lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds using a star pattern. Important of all, make sure you pump your brakes a bunch of times. Make sure the brake pedal is nice and firm before you road test. Then do a stop from 5 miles an hour and 10 miles an hour before you take the car out on the road. We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.1aauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.